We have 2 days masterclass. In the day one, we have this agenda, understanding the SOC environment. We'll discuss about the SOC workflow, its roles and responsibilities, types, key responsibilities, tools over there. We'll discuss about them, right, and the frameworks as well, which is MITRE and 𝐂𝐸𝐴𝐽𝐻. And at the end, we'll be having some question answers. Okay. So let's get started with this. I try to ask some questions in between, so like to trying to make it more interactive. So I would love if everyone would be able to interact, keep on answering the questions, and no matter if it's wrong or not, we are here for the learning purpose. So do not feel ashamed or shy about it. See, the point is, I was also new into cybersecurity. I was not into cybersecurity from the starting period. I was into a totally different background. It was into development part. Those who know that do know that, and then later into switch into cybersecurity. The whole point of telling you this is that cybersecurity is kind of a domain which welcomes everyone. Okay, so even if you are trying to switch your domain into cybersecurity, it is doable. Okay, it's just that you have to pace up, you have to catch up with the trends and technologies, right? Okay, starting with this, we have SOC. Okay, if I have to ask you, what do you know about SOC? This SOC, see, we know the full form of this, Security Operation Center, right? SOC, when we talk about, it's like a nerve center of an organization's, this entire digital immune system, we can say that, right? Just as your body fights off infections using multiple systems like immune cells, communication, and response, so the SOC brings together the experts, the tools, and the workflows to detect and fight the cyber threats. Okay, so if I have to give an idea about it, um, think of a SOC like an airport control tower. So your planes will be like your network traffic. Okay? So your planes will be like a network traffic. Your controllers will be there. Right? Your controllers would be like your analysts, right? And your radar system. Your radar system would be like your monitoring tools. Okay, your monitoring tools, which will keep monitoring of all your activities which is happening around. Right, so basically the goal over here is to prevent the crashes, cyber attacks, right, reroute the threats and keep everything flying safely. Okay, be it a virtual SOC or physical SOC, doesn't matter, the goal is the same. See, SOC, when we're talking about SOC, actually, it's more of a centralized business unit. If I have to give you an idea about that, it's more of a centralized business unit where things are identified, detected, mitigated, or responded against, so that we can make sure our environment is clean from any kind of an incident or attacks over there. Okay, so like, see, I'll give an idea. You can see the image also. Let's suppose this is a shopping mall. It's why I'm saying it's a centralized, and what I mean by centralized is, with this example I can explain you that. Let's suppose this is a shopping mall. Okay, in this shopping mall, floors are there. This is, let's suppose, fourth floor or third floor, let's suppose, second, first, and ground floor. Okay. On every floor, you have kept a camera, a CCTV camera is there. Right. C1, and let's say C3, C2, C1, and C0, or CG for ground floor. Now, see, when you talk about from security perspective, every floor has a CCTV camera, and for every floor, we have a security guard which is monitoring in a room for the footages of that flow. Security guard monitoring all these things over here. Same goes for here for second floor. Same goes for third floor. Oh, sorry, second floors and ground floor. See, this is one way of security for monitoring the entire shopping mall. In each floor, you have set up a camera, and in each floor, there's a security guard in a room monitoring those cameras. This is first option. Option first. Another option is there in which, if I say there's a one common room. Okay, one common room is there in which there's a big screen or multiple screens. Multiple screens. In each screen, the CCTV footages of these cameras are being displayed, and the guards are over here. And even let's suppose only three guards are there monitoring the cameras. This is option number two. If we say, let's suppose there was a thief or a burglar on the third floor, right? If there's a burglar on the third floor, this this guard knows that there's a burglar or a thief on the third floor. But do these guards knows about this? That there's a thief? No, they have no idea, right? There's a thief on the third floor, and how does that thief looks like? They have no clue about it. So if by the time they are notified, maybe this thief goes to the second floor, first floor, and they're clueless, and that thief can just run away. By the time they realize, okay, there's a thief in the building, and by the time everyone knows about it, the thief is gone. It's hard to track it. But if you see, the same thing happens over here. Everyone knows who's the thief. So communication is better, and one also gave a very good reason for that. It is continuous monitoring of the flows and for reviewing and monitoring activities can be done, right? And if anyone is unavailable, it will be advantage to check easy also. Yeah, correct. So this is like correlations are there. You can connect the dots. Okay, connectivity is good, right? And monitoring is much more easier and more, you know, exposure is given over here, and no limitations are there, right? You have the exposure of all the floors, so that's a better, visibility basically. So that's how your SOC works. It's like a monitoring one, right? You can see on the right hand side there's an image, big screen, multiple, logs and events or activities are being displayed which are happening in your organization. So whatever activities are happening in your organization, those activities are displayed over here in the SOC. They basically monitor from here. That's what written over here. SOC is an operation center, more commonly called the Security Operations Center, more commonly called as SOC, is a centralized unit, a centralized business unit. It is a physical or virtual location from which an organization monitors and manages its security threats. This occurs with the three pillars. Yes, indeed it does. Of SOC, which is people, process, and capabilities. Okay. So basically, physical SOC or virtual SOC, location wise, it's like physical SOC would be like a real room with the large displays, which is here on the image itself, right? Large displays. Analysts are there working in shifts because why they work on shifts is 24/7 availability is required, guys. 24/7 availability is required. Because if you're not available, that means no one is monitoring the activities, and that means attackers can take an advantage of that time. So, for example, if it's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., it's late midnight time, 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., if you're not monitoring your network, your environment, attackers can invade at the moment. They can perform malicious activities, they can steal the data, they can perform a data breaching, and no one will know about it. By the time you realize it, like it's 9 a.m. in the morning, that's too late. By that time, the entire data will be gone, and even attacker will be gone, right? So that's what we are talking about over here. 24/7 availability. Okay, so analyst works over here in the shifts. It's a real-time threat dashboard is given to you, like like in the image it is shown. Virtual SOC is there, which is also like a VSOC, virtual SOC, VSOC. It's a cloud-based teams with remote tools, something which is gaining popularity post-COVID. Okay, and three pillars are there: people, process, and capabilities. People would be like the ones which we are talking about, like the team, the security analyst, right? Threat hunters, incident responders, SOC managers. These are the people like CISO and everything. The brain and the decision makers as well. Whereas if we talk about the process, we define the playbooks, incident response workflows, escalation protocols, classifications of the attacks or the incidents, and so on. Right? So think of this as the skeleton, the structure and the repeatability. Then we have capabilities, the tools we are talking about, the technologies. Like there's a heart of your SOC, which is known as a SIEM solution, SIEM, security, information, and event management. Okay, like Splunk is there, QRadar is there, right? EDR also are the tools like CrowdStrike. You might have heard about it, correct? Threat intelligence platforms, all of these things. So the Sentinel from exactly, yes, correct. EDR one says. These are the like EDR. You can say these are like the muscles. Okay, they do the heavy lifting. They collect and correlate the data for you. So people would be like the brain and the decision makers. Process would be like the skeleton, the structure and repeatability, and capabilities. The tools would be like your muscles. They do the heavy lifting, collect and correlate the data for you. Okay. So see, in case of a SOC, imagine you have to defend a castle. So people are there; those are like knights and the strategies. Process would be like your defense protocols, your alert systems, and capabilities would be like your catapults, walls, your surveillance towers. These will be your capabilities. So SOC is not just about fancy screens and alerts. It's a strategic blend of people, of process, and powerful tools, all working in harmony to detect threats as early as possible and to respond more faster. Okay, that's what SOC basically does for us, right? So, like when we say no, do you like really truly understand what keeps our organization safe 24/7 from cyber threats? Most people think of firewalls and antivirus when they think of cybersecurity. But behind all that automation lies a dedicated team, a nerve center, and a this proper machine. That's a SOC for you. Okay. So that's why it is called a centralized unit. It means it's a command hub. Whether it's a team in one room or distributed across location, they work together as one. Right? So that shopping mall example I gave you because of the same reason. Like if every department handles the security on its own, you would get chaos. You will miss the alerts and delayed response will be there because correct communication won't be there, right? Connectivity won't be there, correlation won't be there. So the SOC brings it all under one umbrella for having a better speed, having a better coordination, and in a more effectiveness manner, right? So for people also talk about like the roles and responsibilities like L1, L2, threat hunters, incident responders, many other profiles are there as well. Okay, if I have to ask you which of the three SOC pillars over here, which one do you think is the weakest link in the most companies? It's gonna be people. Okay, the right answer is people because we do have those things like human errors can be done, burnout can be there, and most importantly, lack of training is often the real issue. Right? You might have heard about very common attack, phishing attacks, right? Isn't it? That's why because people are not aware about it, they get scammed, they get phished, and due to which attackers take the entry into the environment. Okay, great. Next is the purpose of SOC. Okay, like why does a SOC exist? What does it actually do? Okay, uh, right. So in real world context, giving SOC floor examples as well, we'll try to connect with this. First step is continuous monitoring. That is the purpose of SOC, as we discussed before. The SOC is always watching. As I told you before, 24/7, 365. It monitors your traffic patterns, your endpoint behaviors. Endpoints means your laptops, your mobile devices, all those things. Your user logins, file movements, cloud usage, and so on. So whether it's Christmas morning or 3 a.m. on a Sunday, someone or something in the SOC is keeping an eye on the organization. Okay. So it's like a security guard watching CCTV all night. So SOC does not blink. Even when nothing seems wrong, they still will be active and keep their guards on. Because attackers do not punch in 9 to 5, right? They target the organization or the company at such a time when they think people will be least active, the employees will be least active. Right? So, for example, see if you see like suddenly an employee who never works late, who never works late, starts downloading 500 MB of HR files at midnight. That's a red flag. Why that would be a red flag? An unactual time, abnormal time. Exactly. If let's suppose that person's time was 9 to 5, why would that person would be logging at late at night, right? At midnight actually, and downloading the files from the HR portal or HR files, right? That's quite of a red flag for sure. So that's a red flag that monitoring will catch before it becomes a data breach. It will be like a monitor and it will be flagged and it will be catched. Right? Threat detection, that's what I'm saying. Detection is all about finding the needle in the haystack, right? Spotting malicious behavior which is buried in the normal operations. So SOC, what it uses its tool like SIEM solution, which we are talking about. Okay, SIEM rules will be there. Even your AI, ML, artificial intelligence, machine learning, anomaly detection is there. Anomaly means anything which goes beyond the normal will be detected. They look out for their behavior analytics as well, like logging at 12 a.m. in the midnight. So behavior analytics is checked. So these things help us to detect any malicious activity, right? So for example, if there is any person with the name Andrew, if Andrew logs in from India and 10 minutes later Andrew is logging from Germany, is it possible? Unusual behavior, right? It's not possible. Andrew cannot travel from India to Germany in 10 minutes. Not possible. So SIM rules or SIM will be raising a flag for you that is detected. So it works like a metal detector at the airport. We have a metal detector. It works like that only. It's not just about what's visible. It's about what's out of the place, out of the normal pattern. Perfect. Then we have incident response. Incident response is more of a reactive approach, we can say over here. See, two things are there, guys. You might have heard about it. One is proactive and one is reactive. Proactive means the things which we try to put in front to make sure that attack do not happen on the very first place, right? To prevent from the attack. And in case if attack has happened or any incident has occurred, then we need to handle it, right? And we need to cut down its impact and handle it, eradicate it. That's what reactive approaches are. So basically, thing goes in this way. If I have to explain the functionalities wise also, we first implement the preventive measures. That's a T. Sorry about that. Preventive. Then we have detective, and then we have corrective. Corrective it is. Okay. These are the layers. Basically, what I'm trying to say. Preventive would be like we won't let anything enters on the very first place. Won't let anything malicious to be entered in the very first place, right? So preventive measures would be there, like barricades, security guards, gates, barriers, all of those things. will be preventive. We'll try to make sure to stop or thwart the attack on the very first place. But in case if attacker was able to bypass the preventive measure, if attacker was able to, you know, go through that phase, it needs to get detected as well. So, for example, when you're going to an airport or something, you know, those guards are there to check your pockets and everything, and they do not allow you to carry any inflammable items, right? Like a lighter or something, gas lighter or something. But let's suppose if you were able to bypass it, you were able to take the lighter inside. Now, if you create a chaos, if you catch a fire over there, something like that, we have smoke detectors over there, right? Those smoke detectors will do what? They will detect the smoke of fire and raise an alarm and ask everyone to evacuate the building. That's what is your detective or detection kind of controls. Then we have corrective also. Once things has been detected, it needs to be rectified. It needs to be corrected as well. Then what we have water sprinklers, we have fire extinguishers, and all those things. We have fire brigades, fire team, right? So that team, when we're talking about, that is our incident response team. So they put the corrective measures over there. They are the more of a reactive approaches. Make sense? Incident response, right? So it's a response, reactive approaches. So they do what? They contain. Containment is there. Just like during the COVID time, when anyone was identified as a COVID positive, we put that person into an isolation ward. Why we put that as person into an isolation ward? So that COVID would not be spread by that person to to other individuals, those who are fit and fine. Right, to stop that impact, to stop that spreadness of that COVID positive, we put that person into the or that patient into isolation ward. That's what is your containment. So simple example, if let's suppose Ebens or Vidyavati, Rodolfo, Shimpa, and I, all of our systems are connected with the same router. We are in the same network, let's suppose. If my system got impacted with the ransomware attack, chances are good that it can travel the network and impact event system. It can impact Vidyavati's system. It can impact Rodolfo's system. It can impact Shimpa's system as well. It can travel in the network. So in order to stop that, in order to contain it, what we will do, we will bring my system out of that network. We'll disconnect the net connection of the network from there, so that the ransomware will not be able to travel in the network. So it is contained in my environment, in my system, and we put it into a sandbox environment. Also, we call it sandbox, SANDBOX, right? Sandbox environment, so that we can limit the scope of the malware. That's what containment is basically. We contain the attack, we isolate the infected systems, and then later we can block the malicious IPs from where the attack was happened. We notify the stakeholders, and we can start the beginning of the forensics process as well, digital forensics, right? So here the goal is to minimize the impact and to stop the spreadness of the attack, right? So because ransomware, I give you an example because it's a classic example. Ransomware attack, it encrypts a server. So SOC will do it, it will isolate it, stop its lateral movement so that attacker cannot travel into other servers and other machines, and it triggers the disaster recovery plan right over there. Right. Then, as I mentioned, fire brigade team, you can say, think of this as a fire brigade that does not just sound the alarm, they will suit up, they will go in and extinguish the fire before it spreads. Right? Then we have threat intelligence. SOC team does not just wait for attacks, okay? They study the enemy using threat intelligence feeds. Okay. So basically what they look out for, they collect the information beforehand. Yes. See, every country has an intelligence team, right? Every country has an intelligence team. That intelligence team does what? It look out for the information regarding the criminals or the crime groups or the crimes, and try to notify about their plan to the army or to the local authority and local, um, federal agencies and everything beforehand, so that they can stop the attack before it can happen and do the damage. Also, it helps us to identify who was the attacker and try to catch them, right? Or at least main thing would be to not let them succeed. That's what your country's intelligence team does, right? Similarly, we have organizations intelligence team, which is known as a threat intelligence team. So SOC team does not just wait for attacks; they study the enemy using threat intelligence feeds. Okay, so they learn about the tactics, the techniques, and the procedures used by the attackers. Right? If any informations were leaked out, any intelligence was leaked out that okay, some domains, some IPs were involved in recent attacks by the hackers, and those domains and IPs were posted in the hacker group. You can use the information and you can block those IPs in your firewalls and not let that IP to have any interaction with your organization. Correct? So, for example, if an threat group is there, any threat group starts targeting banks, maybe using a phishing campaign. So the SOC will adjust its defenses before it's a real hit. Okay, before it hits, basically. So it's just like a military spy or military spy unit gathering in enemy plans before war can even start. Then we have compliance and recording. The purpose of the SOC is for that as well. SOC make sure that the organization is meeting with the regularly requirements or regulatory requirements, my bad, like PCI DSS for finance, HIPAA for healthcare, ISO, GDPR, etc. etc. So they log everything like who accessed what, when, and why, how incidents were handled, and audit trails for forensic review at the end. Okay, so you imagine a black box on a jet. It does not stop the crash, but it helps us understand what went wrong for regulators and for recovery purpose. So that's compliance and recording. Okay, so SOC when we talk about it's just not just a monitor thing, it's a cyber command center, a firefighter, an intelligence agency, and a legal record keeper as well, all in one. That's what a SOC is. Importance of SOC if we talk about, absolutely. Real-time visibility are there as we discussed about it. SOC provides a live radar of what's happening across the digital landscape. Okay. Without visibility, you are blind to attacks until it's too late. Okay. So for example, SOC it identifies, for example, the SOC identifies a spike in outbound traffic at 2 a.m. That's a good sign of a data exfiltration. So immediate alerts will stop the breach that could have gone undetected for weeks. So think of a SOC as a security camera with motion detection. It download or not download, sorry, it doesn't just record it. It spots the trouble the moment it happens that way, and help us to have a faster incident response. Right? The faster you detect and contain an attack, the less damage it can cause you. So SOC makes sure that response happens within minutes, not hours or days, right? So there was an infamous Target data breach that costed over $200 million. SOC alerts were present, but no one acted in time. No one wrote a function. So that happened. So with a functioning SOC, malware was contained, accounts were logged, and stakeholders were notified within minutes. Okay, so it's like having an on-call SWAT team. You do not they say that you don't just know here's a burglar, you act instantly over it. So that's what it's all. First and response, centralized security management as well. The third point which we talked about. So SOC unifies all detection, response, login, monitoring, and reporting. So it reduces the complexity and eliminates the slides from there. Uh, Eliminate the silos basically, and improve the risk management as well. Absolutely. See, risk when you talk about, okay, risk is like a probability which may happen, which may not, right? So SOC enables the early detection of risk before they can escalate. So it informs the business leaders of what threats are likely to happen and and how to mitigate them. So for example, SOC detects phishing attempts which was targeting the financing team. So CISO flags this, Chief Information Security Officer flags this, and the training is rolled out over there. You know, and the attacking surface it got shrunk. Right? So SOC is like your insurance company and personal trainer as well. So it reduces your exposure and strengthen your immune system right over there. And the importance of SOC is also for compliance and audit readiness. So in most industries have strict security regulation like PCI DSS, HIPAA, GDPR which you're talking about. So SOC maintains the logs, the reports, the incident records, and the proof of response protocols as well. Like all are important, all are vital for passing the audit. Right? So in the audit part, like GDPR audit, the SOC shows logs proving the timely breach detection and reporting and helping to avoid any massive fine over there. Then that brings to the same question. What is a security operation in which we have the workflow as well? Security operation center, as we discussed before, the centralized unit, right? It's a centralized unit where we identify, detect, prevent, or mitigate from the attacks or the incident, right? So SOC plays around with the events and the incidents. Anyone knows what is the difference between event and incident? Sorry, it's E. Event incident is an event. Each incident is an event. Nice, good one, good one. Event is normal activity connecting information. Event is alert. Incident is after any impact. Nice one. Okay, that's also good call. Incident is also attack. Event is normal activity. Event is activity. Event is activity. Okay, impacting event. Incident is impact event. Event is just activity, and incident you can say anonymous activity. They also is authorized user logging into an event unauthorized. Yeah. Okay. That's a event. Okay. Tell me which of the statement is true. Every incident is an event, or every event is an incident. Which one is true? Every incident is an event. Every event is an incident. Every incident is an event. Nice. Good job. So event is occurrence of anything, and when an event has an adverse effect, it will be called as incident. Okay. For example, if I say I dropped a bottle of okay, if I say for example if I dropped a glass of water, what it will be? See, the point is I have said just this much that I have dropped a glass of water. With that indeed it is, but just consider this a statement. I did not say that glass of water broke or I got an injury out of it. I just said that I dropped a glass of water. Maybe it was dropped on a cushion, on a bed, anywhere it could be. It would be event, right? Because there was no adverse effect, there was no adverse impact out of it. So this that is true. That is true. It's an unusual activity, but you cannot define it as an incident. Now, for example, see, let's suppose in your account you got like okay 4 or 5 login failure attempts for Sadish account, and then all of a sudden I got a successful login attempt. You will clarify, you will identify it as an incident, right? But what if it was you only who was trying to make multiple failure login attempts into your account? Will you call it out as an incident now? That was an unusual activity. Make sense? I hope the point is clear. Correct. That's what it is saying. Even I agree, it's not a normal activity, but since it's not necessary that the drop will cause the glass to break. As I mentioned, it could be dropped on a cushion, on a sofa, on a bed, it could be anywhere, right? So that's why. Until and unless can, right? But it did not. Exactly, that's what he's saying. Can, but it did not. So until and unless we know about it, we cannot conclude it, right? That's what we are saying. Perfect. Good one. It's a good discussion. So, okay, that's basically this these things fall under the category. Shimpa, exactly. I was just going to say that there are some categorization of things on the basis of attacks and alerts. We call them true positive, although it's not part of the course. And thing true positive, true negative, false positive, and false negative. Okay, what we can do? I will park this thing. Later, just put me a reminder. We can discuss things. This thing, in case if anyone wants the discussion about this, I can explain this thing you in a very easy manner, and we can have a discussion around the same. Okay, at the end. All right. It will just give a more clarity for us for what we were discussing about. Okay. Moving on, we were talking about SOC. So in SOC, we have a couple of things. Okay. Workflow of SOC as well. So data collection and ingestion happen over here. Alert generation correlation, triage prioritization, investigation threat handling, incident response, post incident analysis and reporting, and continuous improvement. Okay, great. What I want you to focus upon over here is, see, this is how your security operations center operates. Okay, data collection and ingestion. What happens over here? The SOC, it collects the logs, the network traffic, the endpoint data, okay, and user activity, the cloud ones as well, the cloud telemetry, and user activity from multiple sources like firewalls, servers, application, and antivirus. The same solutions which we were talking about. The same thing. Why it's called centralized? Because it collects the data guys from multiple sources. So be it your firewall, your router, just giving an example, your web server, your database, endpoints, anything, anything for that matter. So it collect the source, data from different sources, and that's why it is called centralized one in one place. Here, basically, we use SIM solution. Okay. Now, the SOC collects logs, network traffic, the endpoint database data, okay, from multiple sources. These firewalls, servers, applications, the antivirus, like that. So it's like you're gathering the CCTV footage from every camera in a mall, right, and being displayed into one place. All right. Then we have alert generation. If someone's mic is on. Tools like a SIM detects the anomalies attackers based on rules or behavior. Okay. So correlation means connecting the dots across data sources to identify the patterns, one in firewall, routers, and so on. Okay. So it's like to identify like, okay, maybe there was a brute force like password cracking attempt, privilege escalation, converting its normal account into an admin's account, or data exfiltration, stealing out the information, which tells you that attack is in a progress. So, for example, if user logs in from India again, and 2 minutes later from any other country like Russia, so it's an impossible travel, and it will alert the alarm. It will raise an alert basically by the same solution. right? Then we have triage and prioritization. Okay. What happens over here? The SOC analysts, they review the alerts to check the severity. Like, okay, there will be like something like critical. So malware which was detected on CEO's laptop, that would be critical. Medium would be um, suspicious login to test accounts, right? Low would be like one-time failed login. So these kind of a thing will be there. And why this matters, this triage and prioritization, because everything is, if everything is an emergency, then nothing is, right? Trials help us to decide what to fight first. When you do the work, right? When you do work on a project, you assign what is the first, what task will be on the priority wise, basically. What you'll be assigning a task priority wise. That this task I'll do first, this second, this third, and so on. So prioritization needs to be done. Prioritization, okay? Like for example, see, those who know about it, they don't know about it. CVSS means Common Vulnerability Scoring System. Like what we do, we use the scanners, okay, to identify the vulnerabilities in an environment, okay, in every application, server, so on. So let's suppose in internal server, we got to know there was a vulnerability which was having a rating of 9. It means it is critical, okay. Abhishek, nice, yes. And there is a vulnerability, same kind of a vulnerability also, you can say, on the external server, and that is also having the vulnerability 9, the same one. Which one will you prioritize more? I want everyone to try this. Which one will you prioritize more? Prioritize more. The internal server one, which is having 9, or the external one, which is having 9. External it will be. External basically, yeah. Bilal, I mean, you can say that, yeah. Or, yeah, exactly. Which is basically, the point is why external? Because it is available for everyone, right? Anybody would be able to take an advantage of. The chances, here the word I would use is likelihood. The likelihood of getting exploited of the external server is high as compared to internal. So what we did the prioritization over here, isn't it? And as per that, we handled first the external one, and after that, internal. Correct? So that's what we are talking about over here. The triage and prioritizations are done. Make sense? That's why I said if everything's an emergency, then nothing is. So triage helps us to decide what to fight first. Then investigating and threat hunting is also there. What happens over here is like analysts, they dig deeper. Like, was it a real attack? What's the root cause? Who is the attacker? And threat hunting is like a proactive approach, which is looking for threats that tools did not catch, or where the tools were not able to catch. Threat hunting or threat hunters try to find them. Then incident response, as we discussed, like to minimize the impact. So once the things are confirmed that it is really an incident, then the incident response comes into the picture, the reactive approach. What we do the containment, isolation, or quarantining, right? We block the IPs or domains, we notify the stakeholders, we reset the credentials, everything like that, right? So that connecting, disconnecting from the network, or containment, all are the part of this. So, for example, if a ransomware alert is triggered, then the SOC isolates the infected device from the network within seconds. And then post-incident analysis is also there, and reporting. What happens over here? Like the SOC documents whatever has happened, whatever the attack happened, what steps were taken by the team, how they mitigated it, everything. And in that document, like things will be mentioned, like what was the root cause, how did it get past our defenses, what was the impact, and then reports are sent to the management, compliance, and the legal if needed. Right? And incident report will be there, the timelines, the root cause analysis, lesson learned, everything will be there. Right? So which help us to basically get an idea whether do we need some changes or not. any policy need to be changed, any new security controls need to be purchased, so that we can make sure such thing never happens again in the future. So we update our detection rules, we adjust our firewalls, SIM policies, train users to spot like attacks like phishing emails, right? Tuning our alerts to reduce the noise, unnecessary information, right? Like that. So security is like a loop, guys. It's not a straight line. Okay. So like it's like we are updating the vaccines after a new virus strain is there. So we learn from attacks so that we can boost our future defense. Okay. Then roles and responsibilities are also there. We have tier one, we have tier two, and incident responder. Many more are can be so added, but I'm just keeping it till for these things. Okay. Tier 1 is there, the first line of defense as we discussed before, right? These are the SOC analysts L1 who monitor the dashboard and triage the alerts. Their job is to detect anomalies, do initial analysis, and escalate the real threats. They will handle, like you can say, false positive or real incidents from their, you know, experiences. They check the IPs, the IP's reputation, whether it is has been part of any previous attack or not, or check for the domains, the geolocation, right? So they use the playbooks to decide whether we need to ignore it, escalate it, or investigate it. Tier 2 are the investigator basically. These are the SOC analyst level 2, more experienced and analytical. They conduct a deep dives into incidents, they correlate the logs, trace the attacker's movement, and look for signs of lateral movement or privilege escalation. What they do, they analyze the timelines, they reconstruct the attacker's paths, they work with the threat intelligence team to identify the attackers' tools and their tactics, techniques, and procedures. Okay, I'll get back to that, the TTP point. So they are like a detective in a crime scene, looking out for the fingerprints, piecing together clues, and reconstructing how the attacker got in. Then we have the third one, which is incident responder, the firefighters and forensic experts. So these are the SOC L3, you can say, or IR specialist, incident response specialist. Digital forensic can also be included. So they jump in when there is confirmed breach or any ransomware attack or malware infection or any advanced persistent threat activity, APT activity. So they quarantine the affected system, contain the attack, analyze the root cause. They help in recovery for restoration of the systems. Like using backups to restore any deleted data and communicating with the legal compliance teams as well. Right? So any company hit by a ransomware attack, the incident response team will do what? They will disconnect the servers, they will collect the disk images and traces initial access points, build the forensic timeline for legal and board reporting as well. So they're like a fire brigade, as I told you before. So they're called in when things are on fire, and they not only put it out, they figure out how how those things happened, how they got into it, and help us to rebuild the things stronger, the security stronger. Any missing links, any missing points, they'll help out to fill it up. So L1, which you talk about, the first line of defense, right? Monitor the alerts from SIM tools, triage incidents, determine if alerts are false positive or need escalation. Initial investigation, check IP reputation, geolocation, and anomaly patterns. Right? Create incident tickets, yes, they do that, and add basic context and document all actions which has been taken. Okay, false positive, since it is mentioned over here. False positive the same way, the same thing which you were talking about. That Sadish, I was giving this example to Sadish only. If we got multiple, like 4 or 5 login failure attempts from Sadish's account, within 2 3 minutes of a time frame, and after 4 or 5 login failure attempts, we got one successful login attempt also. So it will be triggered as an alert because they think it might be an incident. But when we cross-checked it, it was Sadish only who was trying to access his own account. So it's not an incident now, right? If it's Sadish only who was trying to access his own account, it won't be considered as an incident or the attack. So okay, as I was mentioning before, four things are there: true positive, true negative, false positive. Here it is. I'm giving you a scenario. That scenario is going to ask you what it would be. If you're talking about attack, and here we're talking about alert. Okay. What this would be out of these four? Tell me. If alert says there is an attack going on, and in reality also attack is going on, what this would be? Alert said positive, there is an attack going on. And when we checked, in reality also indeed there was an attack going on. Yes, that would be your true positive. That is good answer. The alert said positive, there's an attack going on. But when we checked, in reality there was no attack. That means this positive given by the alert is false. It will be false positive. Now finally I saw a couple of correct answers. It's gonna be false negative, guys. You might be confused with the ticking process. Now see, alert said negative. Okay, alert said negative, that there is no attack going on. But in reality, there was an attack going on. That makes this alert true or false. Alert said negative, there is no attack going on. But in reality, there was an attack going on. That makes this alert as a false alert because it was a wrong information given by the alert, isn't it? Alert said negative, no attack, no attack. But in reality, there was an attack. That makes this alert as a wrong information. Okay, so it's like you have a security guard, okay, and the security guard is saying there's no thief, you can sleep. No thief, no thief, no thief, right? And you slept. But in reality, there was a thief in the building. And since you were sleeping, the thief and the guard was saying that there is no thief, the thief took all the money. Okay, that's what false negative is. Clear? True negative would be alert says there is no attack going on. In reality, also there is no attack. That would be true negative, the true information given by the alert. Is this clear? See, seeing true positive, true negative is a good thing. It's an ideal condition. You should know. When there is no attack, you should not get any alert. When there is an attack, you should get an alert. False positive, as you can also see, it can be kind of a frustrating or irritating. That is one thing. But if you talk about false negative, this is like a nightmare to the security team. They will be just sitting on their chair, relaxing, all around. But and they will be thinking, okay, there is no alert, so everything is fine. But in reality, there is an attack going on in the background. That's what false positive means. Okay. SOC 2 or SOC Analyst 2, they deep dive the investigation, correlate logs across multiple systems, perform threat hunting, proactively search for hidden threats. Right. Malware analyst will be there looking out for the malwares. Okay. Malware analyst analyzes suspicious files, scripts, or behavior. guide tier one analysts and validate escalated incidents and recommend the containment measures as well. No, false positive, Siddhalinga, would be when alert is given that there is an attack going on, but in reality there is no attack. Because alert said positive. Positive means attack going on. But in reality there was no attack. That makes it false positive. This is the opposite of it. Okay? An incident responder contain and eradicate the confirmed threats. Forensic analysis is done. They look out for the disk memory, like a RAM memory, hard disk memory. Investigation is done over there. Network traffic analysis after a breach is done. Like with whom the malicious or like infected system interacted with, or that malware interacted with. Look out for the incident coordination. Collaborates with incident IT, legal. This is public relation team, PR team, and leadership team as well. Because negative images can also impact the organization. See, main important thing is for an organization. Okay, you guys tell me. For an organization, what is the most important thing? What do you think? For an organization, what would be the most important thing? Reputation, image, right? That's why legal, public relation, PR team is also involved. Like what information should be out, what information should not be out. Otherwise, it can give also the public negativity or like negative impact to the organization, like if they have a negative image outside. Because the point is, if reputation is good, companies, finance, will also operations, everything will be good. If your reputation is not good, nobody will trust you, nobody will invest on you. So how will you work? So brand image, reputation, exactly is the important thing. Incident response that is, as we discussed, root cause analysis done, determine how the breach occurred and suggest the preventions. Playbooks are refinement, improve incident response procedure based on the real attacks. Right? Playbooks are like a football coach's books, you can say, the guidance which are given, like what to do and how to play around in case if someone is performing an attack against you in that way. Because every Sadish, kind of yes. Because every incident teaches something new, right? Which SOPs failed. Sadish, if you take your words, right? We check which SOPs failed. Where did detection take too long? Were alert missed? Did escalation follow the chain or not? So incident response will update their playbooks, escalation metrics, SIM rules, employees awareness training, and everything like that. So like a sports team watching match replays also to tweak the defensive strategy, make the changes over there. Okay, that's what playbook is all. And finally, the reporting, create detailed incident response reports and the lesson learned which you were talking about before, the phase of it. So these are very like a vital records which are helpful for internal review, compliance audit, board or leadership transparency will be there for the legal protection, for the SOC training. These are good things to go with. And key responsibility we do also have detection, prevention, and protection for the SOC. So as I told you, a simple but powerful breakdown is there in three core functions, which is detection, prevention, and protection. Detection would be spotted before it spreads, right? So we report and audit, we support the ticketing, vulnerability assessment. All of these things are also included. But main thing is your SIM solutions will be there. Okay, SIM solutions. Your SIM tools are there for alerts and logs. Your threat intelligence feeds will be there to enrich your context. And vulnerability scans are also there to identify the vulnerabilities which are present in the system or in the environment. Then prevention would be there. It's like a now let's train, patch, and prepare before threats again knock in. Right? So research and development and updates will be there, threat intelligence will be there, staff security training will be there, all of those things. So it's like prevention, it's something which focus on strengthening the defenses before an incident ever happens, like preventive layer. Same thing, right? So here would be like preventive measures would be like keeping your software patched, updated, operating systems, right? Building the threat models, running phishing simulations in the organization, sorry, running phishing simulations in the organization so that employees are trained about the same. They do not click on the phishing links. Educating the users as well, like that. And the protection is also there, like threat hunting, system monitoring, and backups and recovery. Its protection is defensive readiness in action, right? So like that. It's like we are having fire extinguisher in place. Then we have types of SOC: internal, MSSP, and hybrid. Internal is something which is within the organization. You build it and you run it yourself. The organization sets up its own in-house SOC team, so they have full control over that. Like hiring the analysts, choosing the tools, SIEM, SOAR, EDR, designing playbooks, setting SLAs, service level agreement, and compliance policies. Everything is there in their own control. So big companies, large enterprises have the in-house SOC because it's quite costly. High cost, I would say, would be like a con for the same. Pros would be like greater visibility, more customization, direct collaboration with internal IT, legal IT, PR team, strong control over the threat response in that way. But cost, high cost, to be honest. MSSP, anyone knows what is MSSP? Managed Security Service Provider, a services provider. What it would mean? MSSP SOC. Outsourcing a SOC to cybersecurity expert is your managed security services provider. So you contract an external vendor, okay, to handle monitoring and incident response for you. So they monitor your environment using their tools and teams for you. Hybrid means both best of both worlds, right? We combine the internal control and the external support as well. So internal team handles strategy, governance, and critical alerts. MSSP will be handling 24/7 monitoring and L1 trials like that. So it's quite good for the organization which wants more of our agility and control, business scaling, companies with limited night shift coverage like that. It's more of a cost effective plus customizable, good for the response with shared responsibilities and reduce the staff burnout over here. But coordination would be kind of a challenge, just a challenge. So properly well defined roles and playbooks would be there. And shared accountability can cause some confusion. So these things should be clarified beforehand. So we do have some essential tools in SOC. SIM solution, as I mentioned, it's your heart of your SOC. Okay, the heart. Okay, so here monitorings are done. So SIM is a tool which collects the logs. Yes, correct. It collect the logs and security events from across your IT environment. Then what it does, it normalizes them. Normalizes, collect the logs and then normalize the data into a readable format, because it will be collecting the logs in the raw format, then convert them into a standard readable format like Excel sheet, table, tabular format, for example. Then it correlates. Standardization, Shimpa, yes. So it correlates multiple events to detect suspicious behavior, and then alerts are there. Yeah. Alerts are there, like when something abnormal is detected, then alerts will be generated. Because yes, indexing also you can include then if you want to. I'm just in more depth. If we go further, indexing are also there. Absolutely. And they're closely related in terms of log and data processing. Parsing would be like breaking it down. We extract raw data fields from unstructured or semi-structured logs. So we read a log line and splits it into different fields like timestamp, IP address, usernames, events, status codes like that. Normalization would be standardizing it. right? Convert the parsed data into a consistent format, which can be, which is across different devices or vendors like that. So it translates specific fields into a universal fields names, like standardizes name, time zones, field names like src underscore IP for source IP, destination, username, boolean or categorical values like that, depending on the vendor. Like some vendor A will be saying src for the source, vendor B would be saying source underscore IP. So normalized field would be source.ip. So that removing that confusion over there. Okay, giving a standardization over there. I hope it's clear. So that's basically the SIM for you. Okay, and we have already mentioned like Splunk, IBM CUDA, Sentinel, EDR. Sorry, yeah. So that will be SIM solution basically. Yeah. So logs normalization correlates the data. Multiple events basically to detect suspicious behavior, and alerts are there generated as well. So Splunk, IBM CUDA, Logarithm, Microsoft Sentinel, Elastic SIEM, ArcSight, these are some examples for the same. So why SIEM is important? Because now see, consider this question, okay? If your organization had logs in 20 places but no SIEM solution is there, then can you imagine how long do you think it would take to spot a breach over there? Isn't it? If your organization had logs in 20 places but there's no SIEM solution, can you imagine how long do you think it would take to spot a breach in the organization now? IDS, IPS, everyone might know about it. Many of you. Intrusion. IDS stands for Intrusion Detection System. IPS stands for Intrusion Prevention System. Yes. Think of them as a camera. Security camera would be your IDS, and bodyguard would be IPS. Right. So the camera watches and reports, but the bodyguard acts in order to block that threat. The IDS detects and monitors the traffic anomalies, known signatures and behaviors, that does not block anything on its own. The main thing is that it just give it kind of a alert. It requires human or automation to decide and act on what it sees. So snort is there, suricata is there, they can do that like an IDS. IPS is prevention system. It actively prevents or block the threats in real time. Right? It sits in line on the network line, like over there, and uses the predefined rules or AI models now to accept or reject the traffic. Then endpoint detection response is also there. The EDR we are talking about over here. Okay, so it's a digital safeguard for every laptop, server, and mobile devices. It's specifically for endpoints only. Okay, so these are like a mini SOCs, which are mini SOC running on every endpoint. They monitor, detect, and respond and support the investigation. So it helps us for the data collection, monitors and collect data point from every endpoint device. Right? So gathers the real-time data or telemetry from laptop servers or like that. What are the process activity, file changes, registry edits, any USB was inserted or not, what network connections were made like that. So this raw data helps you to detect everything from malware to insider threats as well. Detection is there, AI and machine learning learn behavior analysis to detect threats. Yes, absolutely. They uses also the signature based rules, like which is for the known threats. Pattern based detection is there, we call it heuristics. And behavior based analysis is also there. You know, like for example, if notepad is there, notepad is opening a spawning PowerShell, that is behavioral analysis. Why would notepad interact with PowerShell over there in that way? So behavioral analysis is quite used for detection of ransomware, privilege escalation, suspicious data movement like that. So it's quite important for that. Then finally the response, various automated response occurs to mitigate the threat. So like putting the system or laptop into the quarantine or containment. It quarantines them, kill the malicious process, isolate the endpoint from the network, right? Roll back the recent changes. So like areas like CrowdStrike or Sentinel-1, they do this. They allow the rapid containment without waiting for SOC manual intervention over there. Then final investigation, alerts and reports are reviewed for further investigation over there. So EDR logs the feeds into SIEM platforms like Splunk or SOAR tools for correlation, and human-led incident response happen after that. The SOAR platforms are the tools that orchestrate, which connect different systems like SIEM, EDR, threat intelligence, ticketing, everything. Then automate, perform repetitive security tasks without humans input. And then respond, trigger the smart actions like blocking the IP in firewall, okay, based on the alerts. So isolating endpoint, blocking IP, notifying teams is that. Repetitive tasks are handled over there. It's flexible integrations are there. It connects with a wide range of tools like same media, email, firewalls, etc. So it can work with those tools, right? APIs makes it easy to plug SOAR into your existing security ecosystems, right? It's like a universal remote, you can say, right? And it alert overload also filters and consolidate thousands of daily alerts for you. Security automations are there, take automatic actions on low risk, well defined events over there, like quarantining the infected host, blocking the malicious domains, resetting the compromised account, sending the notification automatically, like that, the repetitive ones. So it's like a responses as well. So empowers the SOC team with faster triage, faster escalation, and containment. Having the visual playbook builder, so a drag and drop interface are used to build the automated workflows over there. The security teams can build the response flows without coding. And threat intelligence, since we are talking about SART, it can pulls and correlates the threat data from external feeds. So these things are the features of SOAR basically. So it works on top of your SIM solutions, we can say in a way. Next is for the ticketing system. It's just that when you call a maker, call to customer support or when you're complaining, they always raise a ticket for your request or for your complaints. It's just like that. L1 raise a ticket, pass it to L2, and L2 raise a ticket and pass it to incident response team in that way. So it's like what gets documented, it gets acted upon. Okay, what gets documented gets acted upon. The ticketing system is a platform which is used by the SOC to document security alerts and systems. Oh, sorry, to document security alerts and incidents. My bad. It help us to assign the task to analysts like L1, L2, L3, or incident responders. It helps us to track the investigation progress, right? In the tickets, everything is mentioned as you can see in the images as well. Transfer to priority and everything, right? It helps us to make sure we have a consistent response and maintain the audit logs and compliance trails over there. So without ticketing, your alerts will vanish, your context will get lost, and the response becomes chaotic, be totally chaotic. Right? Which tool is quite popular for the this ticketing one in our organization, which is popularly used. I always miss that name. Um, Snow and Archer. ServiceNow. ServiceNow is also popular. Yeah. ServiceNow. Jira, ServiceNow. Yes, absolutely. Good one. So as we discussed about it, why they are using incident response, real-time threat visibility and containment are given. So why all this technology, process, and effort matters in real-time incident monitoring. Right. So they give the instant insight into threats across endpoints, networks, and clouds. Rodolfo, okay, nice, good one. I will check on that. Mr. Bilal Ahmed, okay, great, great, yeah. So yeah, getting back to this real-time threat visibility and containment, it can help us to get the early detection, faster containment, reduces our mean time to detect, reduces our mean time to detect and mean time to respond. Once you reduce them, that means you are doing a great job. Mean time to detect, mean time to respond. So these tools helps us to reduce these things for the incident response process. Then automated repeatable response at scales are there. Yes, SOAR can be used, right, for automation, as we discussed. So SOAR and playbooks automate the alert triage, IP blocking, notification stakeholders, resetting the credentials, like that kind of an activity. And clear ownership and auditability is there. So every ticket, alert, and response has an assigned analyst, like L1, L2, and so on. A full log of actions which has been taken or recorded. Timestamp data are there for the accountability as well. And closed loop efficiency and continuous improvement. So after every incident, the SOC performs root cause analysis. Okay, refines their detection rules, updates the playbooks, and improves the training as well. You know. So this loop helps the SOC to evolve with every attack, just like a football team watching game replays, right? Which we discussed before. So they can adjust their tactics to improve the future performance. Right? So everything in a SOC, from SIEMs and SOAR to ticketing and playbooks, exists to deliver the faster responses, better control, clear accountability, and the smarter evolution in the fight which is against our cyber threats. And lastly, we have the frameworks, SOC and cybersecurity frameworks. We have cyber kill chain methodology. Again, these are part of threat intelligence as well. Okay. Cyber kill chain is there, which is quite interesting. It maps the enemy's move to stop the breach before it spreads. Okay. So it was developed by Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin. The kill chain gives SOC teams a step-by-step view of how cyber attacks they unfold and how to break them at every stage. Okay, 7 stages are there. First is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance means gathering the information, like a preparation stage by the attacker. So it's like they're scouting the target, they're getting information about the target. So attackers, they gather the intelligence about their targets, like company domains, their emails, right? What kind of antivirus they are using, and everything, right? What kind of firewall they might be using, employees on LinkedIn, leak credentials or GitHub repositories, like that. They detect the scanning activity. Like SOC can do what? They can detect the scanning activity. They can monitor any DNS request or Google Doc. They can alert on suspicious external probes, like that. So attackers, if they do what? Once they did the reconnaissance, they perform. Sorry, they look out for the weaponization. Okay, payload would be delivery. I'm just writing this. It's delivery. So weaponization would be like building the weapon, okay, like a malware or payload, something like that. So we attach like a malicious macro to a document, a malware, creating any phishing email, a spear phishing email, or maybe wrapping up a ransomware in a zip file, like that. So SOC role would be over here is to monitor for any known payload structure, block the suspicious file types via email filters, right? Integrate the sandboxing tools, like that. SOC can do in this way. Third is delivery. Forget about the payload. Third is delivery phase, where we transfer it, send the weapon to the target. It can be done via phishing emails, which was crafted over here. Right? Malicious ads can be used to transfer the malwares or the weapon. USBs can be used. Infected websites can be used. So as a SOC person, you should use antivirus. You should use EDR to flag these kind of attachments. You should monitor the email logs, right? And SOAR, security operation orchestration and automation response, can auto quarantine the suspicious emails for you. Then attackers goes for the exploitation phase, where they trigger the exploit. After delivery, attackers execute the attacks over here. The zero-day attacks basically on known vulnerabilities. They might perform social engineering to run malware. A privilege escalation might be done. So basically, they take an advantage of the vulnerability over here. Okay. So the SOC we should use for unusual process which are spawning, detect any privilege escalation, investigate any registry modification or system calls over here. After which attackers they install a backdoor, for example. Okay, installation is there. They might install a backdoor through which they can take the access of the system. Okay, so Trojans can be used. RAT we call it, remote access Trojan. These are the malwares, by the way. Okay, more malwares can be transferred. Key logger, any persistent mechanism, schedule tasks like that. As a SOC, you should flag any persistent patterns, creating new account or something like that. Alert on any unsigned or uncommon binaries or locations, and isolate the infected endpoint via SOAR. Then command and control is there, CNC, C2 we also call it. So here the connection is made from the victims or the target system to the attacker's command and control center. So attacker in the weaponization phase might have created a command and control server via which the attacker will try to control the victim system. So when installation was done, yes, Abhishek, when installation was done on the victim system, so for other target system, from there to the attacker server, CNC server we call it. Let's suppose it is attacker. CNC server, this is CNC, the client or the victim, you can say. From here, the request will be going to the attacker server, and attacker now will be getting a communication channel, you can say, or like will be interacting or remotely accessing the victim system, and through which they will perform their actions and objectives. So here we have to monitor any outbound network or anomalies, use threat intelligence to block any IPs which are related to command and control, and detect any beaconing, like regular internal traffic. If anything is going beyond the regular interval traffic. The attacker will then steal your data via there, exfiltrate the data, deploy the ransomware or anything like that. So detect for any unusual data transfer over here, and flag any remote logins or any unusual endpoints having a remote login over there. So these are the phases of cyber kill chain which help us to identify at what phase the attacker would be, and as per that, the security team should take the actions. Then finally, there is a MITRE attack framework. It's a more enlarged one, the framework which is used for threat intelligence as well, which is good for gathering the TTPs of the attackers, tactics, techniques, and procedures of the attackers. Okay, so MITRE is one of them. T for tactics. Anyone knows the difference between them? T for techniques. Okay, nice. See, in simple words, if I have to break it down, tactics means goal. What is your goal? Technique means methods which are you gonna use to get that other tools or something, and procedure will be step by step approach. Okay. For example, now see what I'm why I'm saying that tactics would be like, okay, you want to get you know initial access or persistence or anything like that, right? For example, you want to get the initial access. You want the initial access. That's your tactic, the goal. How you can get that? Using phishing emails. This will be your technique. Tactic would be initial access. And procedure would be a step-by-step approach. Like, first you'll be doing the reconnaissance, gathering information about the target, the company, gathering their email ID, drafting an email, creating a malware, attaching it on over there, or having a malicious website to steal the credentials. That will be process. Clear with this? TTPs? So MITRE tag gives you adversarials or attackers, tactics, techniques, and their common knowledge over there. Okay, so it is a globally curated knowledge based off your real-world attack behaviors, how attackers gain access, move laterally, escalate, and exfiltrate. So based on research and actual threat actors' behavior, it is created. So each column over here will be a tactic. Okay, initial access, execution, persistence, and so on. Each row under that would be techniques. Rows are techniques, columns are tactics. Always remember that. So SOC teams use MITRE tag to tag the alerts and correlate behavior, help us to build the detection rules in SIMs and so. It helps us to conduct the threat hunting, right? Um, okay, and yeah, basically, if I have to show you how it looks like, let me give you an idea. Yeah, this is the more updated one. This is a link. If you want the link, I'll pass it in the chat. Okay. Yes, by reading them, by getting their ideas about them, absolutely, so that you can defend better. That's why it is there. Yes, Abhishek, exactly, it is that for. For example, privilege escalation. Now, if you see about this, like let's suppose for the phishing one, these phishing attacks are done by these groups, right? Popularly known by them, the software they are using. Again, the group's name, the software, the mitigations for it, how you can detect it as well. See, if I click on a group, any group name, it tells you what that group also does. Axiom group, name group 72. Description you can get it by clicking over here. More of these things. Technique used during the enterprises T1583. Click on that. Acquires infrastructure. That's a technique. Sub techniques are over here, getting domains and everything. Other groups also which are taking the using that thing. So it basically helps you to basically tell you about the groups, what they do, what software they use, how you can mitigate it, and how you can detect those things. That's what MITRE does. This is quite popular, okay? APT29 by the way. This word you will find a lot. Cozy beer. Their campaigns, the techniques which has been used by them. See. The software which I used. Bloodhound is also quite popular, Cobalt Strike as well. That's what my track. It's more of an elaborated form. Okay. Couple of quick question answers before we can wrap it up for what we discussed. Okay. Answer these ones in the chat. What do you think? Good one. It's B. Good job. This one, it would be tier one, right? Good one. Basic investigation, guys. Basic investigation we're talking about. Endpoint behavior. Awesome. Fourth one is there. That would be D, tactics and attackers. Okay, fifth one. In the cyber kill chain, which stage involves gaining initial. Sorry, so I was saying we're not collecting any information, we're just getting inside someone's system. Not creating anything, not gathering anything. Getting the access into someone's system. That would be exploitation, guys. B. Getting into someone, gaining access into someone's system, right? This one, sixth question. Nice one. This one. Okay.